episode of In My Experience. In my experience, it's the parts of you you most hide that the world should most see. And that could go for better or worse. I mean, clearly Diddy was hiding something. But it's something that I've been thinking about lately. You know, you read so many books about complex post traumatic disorder and child abuse and psychology, and everybody just tells you you have a fear of being perceived, which is very natural if you've suffered some of the things I have, particularly paternal abuse. But I was talking with my friend, and she has a disability, and sometimes she's wheelchair bound. She has a 20 billion health issues, and she has another friend who's quadriplegic, and just this it's so necessary nowadays to have a social media presence. And yet this you feel like you're trying to press record and be seen by a world and have it but make sure it doesn't see this huge boulder you're carrying. Like, it's this very weird thing we do where her friend and her, they just didn't know how to they're doing these videos and completely hiding what is visible, that they are disabled. And they don't want to talk about it. They don't want to approach the topic. And yet, some of the people that have gone most viral and even have made the most money go straight for the pink elephant in the room. And it's not to say you want to make money off of your disability, but it's this weird thing that we do. And it's something that I've caught myself doing. It's that, our pain is so central to who we become, so centered to us until we go off and accept happiness, accept what makes us happy. I think a lot of us are living in pain because we're not brave enough to be happy. We're not brave enough to even go on the journey to discover what happiness means to us. We're not brave enough to accept that all the people in our life, all the things that we do for the people in our life do not equate happiness, and they might not even want us to be happy either. And it's kind of this, you got to acknowledge the pink elephant. And one of the things that I really loved about my dad is that he had no shame. Like, no, it was this weird thing because he would threaten and do horrible things to silence people, but at the same time, give him the spotlight, like give him the mic. He's ready to be seen. He was a man that thrived off of making others invisible, just to be seen as something he was not, which was what was so fascinating about him. Because it's not like, I was really thinking about it in terms of perception and trying to figure out social media. Because on one hand, I'm super private. I love podcasting because God, editing is hard. I'm sure you've heard some fuzzies in the back. But it's this thing of like, I every time I edit, I literally hack the video. It's a 10-minute video and it turns into 10 seconds for one. But it's also there's something about social media that I find really distracting and boring. And I've always been that way. Always been that way, despite growing up with social media. I've never really, I like how goofy it can be. I love, those beautiful family reunion videos or Reiki videos. Like, I love really positive stuff. But, I don't know how to necessarily be positive in social media. Like, I feel like you put a camera on me and I just go flat face. I don't know what to say. I don't know what to do. Um, and I was raised with this father that really should have hidden. I mean, he hid his crimes, he hid his cons, he hid people, he hid lives, his multiple lives, but he didn't hide necessarily himself. He just shapeshifted. And I was telling my friend, you gather 20 people across my father's life, across ages, strangers, family, friends, coworkers, and they all could genuinely say they met a different man. Some met a great man, some met a horrible man, but they didn't necessarily meet the same one. And I think part of my struggles, and I'm thinking of my friend and her friend, is this kind of, you watch social media and it just, you hear it all the time. There's a difference between the person that goes up, the persona, versus the person in real life, right? Very, e- even authenticity is manufactured. And we just can't seem to manufacture our damn authenticity. I don't know how to look real. I really do look dead when I go on social media. Like, I mean, like, I just, all this personality goes flat. And according to the books, I have a fear of being perceived, and maybe it is fear, because it's not just about being seen, but it's also like there is a level of branding and marketing, and it's like, what is my image? Who is Hardin, which is my name in all music platforms, but who is Deandra, and what should she show? And I think what was so interesting is we were all trying to, growing up abused by your dad, and growing up in very volatile, dysfunctional families does affect you. Like, it does affect you. Even if you're a child that escaped it, you carry it. And I just felt this as I grew older and I grew with the same type of toxicity. I just felt this overwhelming kind of like I didn't know how to show myself to the world, because I had so much I had to fix beyond it. I didn't know how to say. I lost this edge I used to have of introducing myself to everyone, and being the first one to smile for the picture. I lost it because I got sad. Life gets rough. And I felt, and it's something that's very common with abuse victims, when you're a child, you're an adult, but when you're an adult, you're a child. And it was this kind of, unless I was making everyone feel happy and comfortable, I was a real bitch. And no matter what I did to avoid that reputation, and actions and words, I just couldn't escape the villain. And now the villain wants to make 30-second TikTok videos. It does have this effect. And you do everything to not talk about that pain, to avoid that pain, in part because your family teaches you. And another part is like, it's like my friend was saying, I don't want my pain to identify me. I don't want my disability to be the center for why people look at me. But it is why they look at you. And our job as human beings is to say, well, this is the first image. Let me show you the second, the third, the fourth, the fifth. And let me be brave enough and accepting and forgiving enough of myself to see the journey of even making that image, of even turning my authenticity into an image. Because that's another thing too. Like, I feel every week with Daddy Recovery, I discover something new, and I discover a new edge, and a new perspective, and a new story, something I want to say, and how I want to say it. And what happens is I'll discover new as I'm editing old, and then it's like, we'll throw out the old. This new thing, this is it. We've got it, baby. We finally got the film. But I feel like with Daddy Recovery, I'm recovering from my father, all the things that made me an artist, all the things his pain and his pain transfer took from me. My creativity, my boldness, my my boldness of being creative, my beauty, my faith, my belief, because he really just wanted me to die away. And he was such a, one of the things I've said this before, you realize how disgusting a human being was, that your abuser was, and how unspecial they were for how much you settled in their disgusting. And I give myself grace because it was my dad, and I don't regret trying so hard. I do regret that I was useless. And it's something that I mentioned, how to avoid a Mr. H. If they want you to be your enemy, They don't want you to be. If they want if they want you to be their enemy, they don't want you to be their lover. They don't want you to be their friend, their family, nothing. If they're really villainizing you, it's because they want to be seen and feel like your victim. And that was really, really hard for me to accept because I'm not evil. I'm a really good person. My biggest mistake in life, and I think it's kind of beautiful, even though in perspective we gotta change that, is that I've been too kind. I've been too loving. I've been too generous. I've had too much faith in others. I've been the lamb walking to the slaughter a lot of times. And it's beautiful to be the lamb, but after a while, let's stop getting slaughtered. I think that's the general argument with Daddy Recovery and how to put that in ways that people can digest and grow from because I want to grow and I want to inspire, but the only way I will make others feel inspired by me is if I'm inspired by me. Like I can't make the intention because I think that's one of the things that has, why there's such a shift in social media, a beginning, Pluto Aquarius kind of shift. You know, we have too many people making money off of telling you how to make money. But we have a system that is built for you not to make money. We have too many people making money off of how you should get healthy. And yet we have a system that makes sure you don't even have access to health. Like there's this feeling of, I have a lot of books and a lot of people telling me how to get happy. And I don't even know if they are. I just know they're really good at marketing and I'm upset. Like I'm going through things. So I need something. And I've mentioned that before with like tarots and astrology and even there are moments when I have to, and I've talked about this particularly with Yali. There are moments when I have to say, okay, Deandra, like put down the self-help book, read a regular book or watch a movie or do something because you can only heal so much before you have to do. And I think what's dangerous about like influencer culture and these kind of gurus is they don't how much money could they make if they actually taught you how to make, you know? How far it's like will we ever find the cure for cancer? Probably we probably already have. It's one of the things I thought about with COVID when we got the vaccine within a year, everybody was like, "Oh my God!" There were a lot of people who, like thought it was fake and we would turn into lizards and it might be poisonous. But I think what I thought to myself is, "Wow!" Like when the world gets together and focuses, we cut so much time and energy. Like, there was a period in COVID where we really thought the human population was about to go down. We were in a HBO Max series, okay? And that urgency prompted us to unite and fight. And I thought to myself, we probably do have the cure for cancer. Like I went the opposite way. I thought we probably found it like 30 years ago. And it's just too marketable, too money profiteering to actually give the cure. That's what I thought. And I think in me moving on and kind of recording it and figuring it out, I give people the chance to move on too, move on from me as well. Because you do have to move on. You really, really, really do. And one of the things that I wrote an episode recently about, you know, what was so funny about my dad is that yes, he was a pathological liar, but you knew he really disrespected you when the lies were just coming and clashing and what oh yeah, I did try to kill myself. Yes, with a rope, with a knife. Nope, 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 nope. Actually with a gun. Nope, nope. It was an overdose. Like we were at the basilica and then he has the stories that he tells people like that he almost tried to kill himself, that he went to a cancer ward with kids, like these stories to really grab pity and look like this good guy who's redeeming, but he's a con man. And he was hitting the same stories, and I felt nothing. And this was obviously our last reunion. And I go back to that moment of why didn't it work, especially because of all the things he did. Like why didn't the same trick work? And it's maturity. My dad stayed an infant, but I grew up and the lives didn't work and the stories I they never really worked. I always knew my dad was lying, but I thought I had to entertain the lie to keep the dad, only to realize I never had a dad to begin with. I only had a liar. And his stories just didn't work anymore. And now I'm at this point where it's time to tell my story. And what does maturity look like now? Because it's not just maturity isn't just rejecting people's BS, but owning your own story, right? I don't accept their bull, but I'm grabbing my bull by the horns and just bam, hitting that china shop. It's really interesting, the dichotomies. You have these beautiful human beings that are scared the world is going to only see them as disabled and ignore their personality. Yet they hide their personality because of their disability and the feeling, it's kind of like damned if you do, damned if you don't. I don't fully show myself because I'm trying to hide a part of myself. Yet if I don't hide that part of myself, or if I, again, acknowledge the pink elephant, what does it mean to fully show myself? A lot of overthought. And if there's one thing my father taught me is flow. He flew, I mean, off the handle, but he really did. Like, he was absolutely fearless as a con man, very good at schemes. But a scheme doesn't begin without an introduction. And if he had to shake your hand and act like he went to Japan, he was going to do it. And it made you feel important. But I want to make people feel important via my authenticity, which means I have to feel important. I have to feel like my stories are the most important thing in the world, even if it's in just my world. And that's real tricky. That's real tricky. Because I do like to hide. I do feel safer hidden, in part because of my abuse, and in part because I think we have reached a point in terms of influencer culture and celebrity culture where we're really bored. I'm just bored of the spectacle. I'm bored of the manipulation. I'm tired of people trying to make me feel for them. And then if I say, well, I actually feel negative, like these parasocial relationships. It's funny when celebrities mention parasocial relationships when we catch them like breaking up a marriage or cheating on their marriage or something like that. Like when we catch them doing negative, they're like, back down, get a life. But you're a human being. You're going to mess up. You're going to do good. You're going to do bad. Somebody's going to hate you and somebody's going to love you. And if there's one thing that my father taught me is to shine through it. Like, never hid. Only hid others. Hid the crimes, hid the cons, hid lives, hid children. But he didn't hide himself. And there's something about that that obviously is like unadmirable, but admirable too in terms of perception. He never stopped being visible, despite needing to be invisible. And I'm going to take notes. Check out daddyrecovery.com. Oh, and sign up to the newsletter.